Welcome to Conversations with Tom Shorkey. Conversations explores the past, the present, and the future of the communities in which we live through the eyes of interesting individuals. Now let's join our host, Tom Shorkey.
Welcome to Conversation. I'm your host for today's program, Tom Shorkey. With us today, we have a local resident, grew up in the Marine City area, lives in St. Clair, has worked in the Blue Water area almost his entire life, and has recently been honored with a national award given to faculty and staff at American community colleges. He will receive his award outside of Washington, D.C. Next month, and we're proud of what he's done, and he is in a field that's near and dear to everyone's heart, law enforcement. It's my pleasure today to welcome Jim Jones, professor of law enforcement at SC4, and worked with a number of departments in the area. Yes. So before we get into law enforcement, Jim, just for our audience at home, I mean, they may recognize you from your 28 or 30 years in Port Huron, or working a little bit for Marine City, or at the college.
Yes.
Or probably just seeing you in the grocery store
Sure.
in St. Clair, Marine City. Tell us where you grew up and a little background.
Okay. Well, I'm a proud graduate of Marine City High School back in 1978. I had you as my principal during those days. It was great, and I'm humbled and honored that you remembered me from those times. I grew up out on Markle Road in Cotterville Township. I had a nice family life. My parents were wonderful and are wonderful people. Four brother and three sisters during that time period. They were all right around the same age. My youngest sister, 10 years, a little bit younger than I. Cousins lived down the road from us. My grandparents lived down the road, had a dairy farm at the time. It was a wonderful upbringing during that time period, and enjoyed my years at Marine City also.
Well, you know, in Marine City, for our St. Clair residents, you know, if you mention a Westrick or a Schwa over, you go, well, gee, everybody's related to everybody.
That's
but
right.
You get out in the farmland behind Marine City, there's an awful lot of Joneses that are connected with a lot of different families out there.
There sure are,
yeah. And yes, I do remember you from 1978, and only in good ways.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Jim, when you have spent your whole life in law enforcement. Back Marine City, about the time you're ready to graduate from high school, was that what you had in mind, or what else were you going to do?
Well, when I was 16, 17, I certainly had a lot of different game plans. Like most 16, 17-year-olds, I wanted to do a lot of things, and I all wanted to do them in the next day.
Yeah.
When I got out of high school, I went up to St. Clair County Community College. I remember this meeting really, really well. I was meeting with my advisor up at the college. He was registering me for classes. I really didn't know for sure what I wanted to do. I had an interest going into communications. My advisor was Clarence Knight, used to own the dime store in Marine City for many years. I'm registering for my classes, and the phone rang in his office, and it was the captain from the Port Huron Police Department. He asked Mr. Knight if he knew of anyone that would be interested in being a police cadet at the police department. He said he needed to fill a position quite quickly. I was kind of listening in on the conversation. I really didn't approach Clarence Knight on it or have a discussion about it, but once my counseling session was over, I ran down to the police department and applied. I'm not sure why, but they hired me, and that changed my life.
And so you became a cadet, but you also continued.
I did.
Over at community college.
I did. I stayed as a cadet for the 2 years during my associate's degree. I graduated from the community college. Very proud to say I graduated from the program that I'm now involved in back in 1980. Moved up to Big Rapids. I got married. My wife, Renee, was my girlfriend in high school, and we were married as we moved up to Big Rapids. Finished my bachelor's degree. Went to Minnesota for just a short stint, and while I was working as an investigator for a law firm, the police department in Port Huron called and asked if I'd like to come back and be an officer, and I jumped on the first flight to come back for an interview. I couldn't wait.
So you joined the Port Huron Police Department, and you ended up, what, 28, 30 years with them, so to speak?
I did a little over 28 years with the police department, and it was a wonderful career. I love the Port Huron Police Department. I consider those that I worked with my family still. It was a great place. What a great town. Many, many great memories from my time there.
How big is the Port Huron Police Department? How many officers?
Yeah, in those days when I was there were about 51 officers. It may have gone up just a little bit. They've brought on some officers during with grant monies and things. The city itself is about 30 to 32,000. It fluctuated in that 28 years, but it was a very fine department. Had many different types of roles that one could go into and responsibilities. And I was a patrol officer, and I worked years as an undercover officer, and then I went on to a violent crimes investigative unit that we had for about 3 years, and was a detective for a number of years, and I got to do just about everything I ever wanted to do in police work up there in Port Huron.
Sounds very interesting. And when you retired, what was your rank when you retired?
I retired as a captain. I was second in command. The chief at the time was Don Porritt, and we had a career that spanned together. I came in right after Don had left as being a cadet. He became a communications operator, and when I came back, he and I we were officers all that time, and I was very proud to work for him. And Bill Corbett before Don. Bill was a mentor. He was the chief for almost 18 years up there, and he was just a great man.
I thought both those guys, in my different positions in the county, I worked with both of them, and I thought they were both top-notch leaders.
They were very much so. And Don and I are still friends. We get together and maybe have dinner once in a while, maybe not enough, but we definitely will be doing that off and on in the future.
When did you get back hooked up with a college doing some teaching?
Well, I started as an adjunct while I was with the police department. A little bit of a story with that also. There was a instructor up there, Virginia Pillsbury, had taught dynamics of substance abuse for a number of years. I had her as an instructor. She was a great instructor up at the college. And she had left the college. She had retired. And time was getting short. They needed someone to fill her position. Bill Lakatos, who was running the criminal justice program, called over to the police department, asked if there was anyone that had ever worked in the drug units to see if there would be an interest in coming and teaching the dynamics of substance abuse class. I think I was offered that class about a week before it started. I had to get a book out and start reading and putting notes together. I remember that. It was the first college class I ever taught, and that was back in '97. I loved teaching it. I had a great time. I learned a ton teaching that course, and I just kind of stuck as an adjunct for a number of years, right up until I left the police department.
When did you retire from the police department and become a full-time professor?
Well, it was in 2010, and that happened in a way that an instructor that was running the criminal justice program in the fall of 2010 decided that he was going to leave, and he left the college. Unfortunately, the semester had already started. Being an adjunct there for a number of years before then, I had received a phone call asking if I had any vacation time, comp time, something I could to come over and fill those courses, and I ended up becoming an instructor of 5 different courses that semester and still being a captain at the police department. That was quite an adventure, and I remember I'd show up at the police department at 6 o'clock, work for 3 hours, run to the college and teach for 3 hours, run back and do the captain thing for 3 hours, then run back, and I'd get home at 9 o'clock at night, and my wife Renee and I talked about it, and we knew that that couldn't go on forever, that we were going to have to pick one or the other, and by that time I had had a full career in Port Huron. I was eligible to retire, so we gave it some thought, and I decided to leave the police department and put my focus full-time at St. Clair County.
And now you have a very popular department there. 12, 14 courses get taught in law enforcement. And are you the only full-time person?
Yes, my title would be program lead there. I'm the only full-time instructor in the criminal justice program. But we have some very, very strong adjunct instructors.
Tell our audience about a few of these folks that you snag in to talk to.
It's unbelievable the professional quality of instructors we have there. We've got Chief Joe Platzer, who is the chief now in the Port Huron Police Department, teaching a couple of our courses. We've got Doug Jones, who is the chief probation officer in St. Clair County. He's teaching courses there. George Stevenson, the deputy warden out at the 26-mile Michigan Department of Corrections facility out there. We've got some really, really strong instructors. They bring a strong amount of credibility to the program, and our students are just absolutely impressed with the quality of instruction that they're receiving.
I think they should be if they're not. who's in the law enforcement class? Are they the young typical community college student? Are they older adults who may want to change careers, or who do you have?
Yeah, and that's the unique thing about working at the community college and teaching there is you're teaching students who come from many, many different backgrounds. The majority of our students are the traditional students who are coming right from high school. They're entertaining different professions, and they're just seeking to see if this is what they might want to do. And we're fortunate many stay with us. They find the program to be interesting, and not only is it an interesting program, it's one where there's a lot of employment potential once they complete it. Something new since I've come is the number of dual enrolled or middle college students who are still high school students who are going up and while they're in high school completing this associate's program. It's wonderful. Those students are great to have in class, and many of them are quite strong when they come in. And we also have the non-traditional students, those who come in perhaps looking for a second career. Some of those students are those who always kind of thought on the outside it'd be pretty interesting to be a police officer, interesting to go into corrections, but life got in the way and they found themselves doing other things, and now they're given a second thought to coming back. One of my students that has really been impressive is someone who's been a flight nurse on the helicopters, transporting those who are critically injured or ill back and forth from St. Clair County down to the Detroit hospitals. And he's taking some of the courses, and he has an interest, a strong interest in going into law enforcement now. So we have students from all different walks of life, all different ages, and bringing in many, many different talents.
So when students finish 2 years or their associate degree at community college, are they looking to enter a law enforcement career? Do they transfer to 4-year programs? Do they put themselves through the police academy? What happens when they're done at SC4?
Our program is designed to work with those who have interest in both those areas, either getting their associate's degree and completing the degree and moving into a professional career. But our program is also designed to work with those students who want to go to a senior institution and pick up a bachelor's degree. We have a great agreement with Ferris State University, and one can go to St. Clair County Community College, get an associate's degree, and continue on and get their bachelor's degree through Ferris State University without leaving the campus. So one can get a bachelor's degree right on the campus of St. Clair County Community College. Our criminal justice generalist program is designed to be a walk-in to that program. I also spent time on a task force, the MI Transfer Task Force, where we met with other community colleges and professionals from other universities trying to design courses and programs that would be transferable to any state-run university that we have right here in Michigan. And we've been pretty successful. Our courses are often looked upon as a course that can transfer into almost any institution in Michigan. So we're very proud of that.
What I think in the past, and I'm not sure, maybe it differs from community or police organization, but it seemed like once upon a time, young officers would get hired, and then that municipality would send them to the academy.
Sure.
But I think you're telling me that it's kind of a little reversal now, where people go to the police academy before they apply?
Yes.
How does that work?
Back in the 70s, early 70s, that was the norm, where a police agency would hire someone and then they would send that person to an academy, and then that person would come and work for that police agency. Towards the late 70s, early 80s, the movement came where that no longer was feasible for many departments. Officers were being sent to the academy and they would work for just a short period of time and end up leaving, and then they would have to go through the whole process. The department would have to do that all over again. It became the norm in the early 80s, going into the 90s, and right up until this time period, where generally someone will get an associate's degree and then put themselves through a police academy and then go look for work after they complete the academy. We do have police agencies in Michigan that will still hire you and put you through an academy. They have their own academies, and we've had a lot of students who have gone through those departments. The Detroit Police Department is one. They have their own academy, And our students are looked upon very favorably. We've had a number of students go down to Detroit and find work there. The Michigan State Police is also an agency that will put a student through their own academy, and once you're completing their academy, you become a state trooper. State Police has been wonderful in looking at our students and picking them up. They've been perhaps one of our biggest employers of our students, and I'm always proud when I see a trooper out on the road that I had in our class.
How about State Police? When people think back, they can think of the State Police posts in St. Clair, New Baltimore, you know, I mean, they're up in the... It seems like there are very few state police posts now. Does that mean there's less state police officers? They don't hire as much, or what's going on with the state police?
Yeah, consolidation certainly has been a direction that not only state police have gone in, but many communities, school districts, what have you, have consolidated their headquarters, their administrative buildings, and right now, the state police troopers that are working this area are stationed at the Lapeer post, and Port Huron has one of their satellite posts. So we have a great number of troopers working in this area and being stationed right out of the Port Huron municipal building, actually right with the police department. What a great idea. The Chief, Mike Reeves, before Joe Platzer, invited the troopers to come into the Port Huron facility to make it a satellite post, if you will. And the idea of putting more police cars in Port Huron, state troopers, going to and from their assignments was a brilliant idea, and I know that the residents of Port Huron, I'm sure, are very happy to have the extra patrols going in and out of town as they're heading out to the unincorporated jurisdictions and the freeways to do their work.
Is there any territory issues with different departments, like local municipalities with the sheriff's department or with the state police, or how does that exist?
I would have to say that probably. I've heard this. I don't know if it's true that most police officers, police agencies, police administrators, there's a little bit of egos in all of us, and I've heard that. But most of the time, if there is any type of friction that might be caused because of territorial issues, they can be worked out. We're professionals. We kid with each other. I'm sure that there are troopers out there that would kid about me being a municipal police officer, and I know there's some municipal officers that would kid deputies about being deputies or troopers being troopers. It's part of the game. We enjoy it. We're all one big team. We all have a tremendous amount of pride in what we do. But those of us in this profession consider us all brothers and sisters in what we do, and it's living like one big family. We're going to maybe always kid around a little bit, have a disagreement now and then, but all these things work out, and we work together as one big team out there. And the goal is this: protecting the public. We know that that's what the end game is, and that's what we're here to do.
Great answer. What if we had a room full of prospective candidates for any given department? And we said, Jim, wade through those folks, talk to everybody for 10 or 15 minutes, and then recommend 3 people. What traits do you look for in somebody who you think will be a successful law enforcement officer?
Honesty, integrity, and someone with strong ethics. Without question, we're looking for professionals. All of the agencies, whether you're a federal officer, state officer, county deputy, city officer, we're looking for those qualities in an individual to become a police officer. We need someone with good judgment, someone who's going to make proper decisions, and someone that will take a tremendous amount of pride in the work that they do.
It seems that there's a lot of law enforcement openings right now, and I don't know if that means there's more expansion of opportunities or fewer people applying for jobs. What has caused that? I would think that law enforcement would be an area that wouldn't be that difficult to fill.
Yeah, it's a profession that has seen fluctuation in wages as the economy comes and goes. There are opportunities for those who have an interest in law enforcement to go into other professions, perhaps sometimes to make a better wage, certainly to work better hours. Going into police work, one is going to be working nights, one is going to be working weekends, one is going to be working holidays. If you have hobbies such as being a deer hunter or playing softball, it does not always bode well if those are what your interests are. And right now, there are opportunities elsewhere. We also have seen some wage fluctuations that have gone in to the criminal justice profession. Some areas pay police officers better than other areas do. One of the areas that pays quite well is Macomb County. And as a result, many of our officers that are working in St. Clair County at the municipal departments or the sheriff's department might eye up a position that's going to pay a little bit better. And frankly, it's hard to deny that it would be nice to make a little bit more money in this profession. So unfortunately, vacancies occur. Those who are working for area departments often will go where there's a little bit more money, and because those openings are available, and that creates vacancies at the departments that they
I
leave.
would think that would put pressure on small towns like Marine City, St. Clair, Algonac, Marysville, where maybe they can't be as competitive as, say, a sheriff's department or a state police or Macomb County, which is not that far away.
Sure.
I have seen where some of the smaller communities go to hiring part-time retired policemen from other agencies.
Well, I've heard that some departments are doing that, and unfortunately, that has, or fortunately, I guess we look at it in two different ways. That is certainly a direction that has been taken. I'm working in Marine City, as you know. I'm very, very proud to be a Marine City police officer. I have a hard time understanding that I have already had a policing career somewhere else and have started over in a policing career in Marine City because I enjoy it. And many days I go to work, I feel like I'm a rookie out there. And sometimes situations that come up make me feel a little bit like a rookie, like I'm kind of scratching my head, how am I going to solve this one, you know, type of a thing. But no, it is just one of those things that happens, that these positions have to be filled. Investing a lot of money into someone coming in, sending someone to an academy, providing training, providing uniforms, providing the weapons for service, all of that costs money. And knowing that there's always potential that that person could leave at any time to go to another department creates a big challenge. Chief Heslop has done a wonderful job keeping the department filled with officers. I enjoy working with the experienced officers that are coming down. There are challenges in working in Marine City. We don't have a lot of police officers out there working at one time. Having officers that know what they're doing, having officers that are confident handling situations, I think is a benefit to a community, and I think Chief Heslop has done that quite well.
Well, and I think if we look back to when you started your career with Port Huron and you compare it to today, I think the communication and the training have got to be far and above what was in place 30 years ago.
When I started in Port Huron, I remember going out to the patrol car with a tremendous amount of pride, but very little equipment and very little training behind me. I think I tell my students this, that I think my first day I carried a flashlight with me. Certainly I had the service weapon that had been issued to me. I carried a ticket book, and not a whole lot more going out there getting in my car. Today the cars are filled with equipment. The methods of making an arrest, the equipment we have available to us in situations is extraordinary, and it makes it safer for the officers to work, and it makes it safer for the public or those who find themselves that perhaps need to be detained.
Now, two of the, I think what they've always considered the two most dangerous times for people in law enforcement is either the call on a domestic abuse case or what could be a routine traffic stop or not. What do you tell your students about those issues?
I tell them exactly that. No situation is 100% safe, but certainly there are calls out there that bring challenges that certainly have an element of danger to them, and a traffic stop is always going to be one of those calls. Anytime you turn your top lights on and pull a car over and approach that car, you have no idea who's going to be in that car. You have no idea what that person is up to, what they may be carrying in their front seat. And you're approaching that person in a way that you really can't see until you get right up to the window. So one has to never consider a traffic stop routine, no matter who or who the person is or what type of a vehicle they're driving. One has to always be careful. Domestic situations always bring the element of danger found through the emotions of people. When there's a domestic situation going on, whether there's a battery or not, people are generally in an emotional state. It's a private type of an incident. Oftentimes those who find themselves in that type of an incident are very reluctant to speak with the police, and it can be very dangerous because you never know what can happen. Domestics are certainly one of the saddest calls that will go on. There's always going to be some type of a personal tragedy taking place in the lives that are involved. But it's important that we do go and we try to help those who are finding themselves in those situations.
Let's talk a little bit about this award that has been bestowed on you. And I think one of the key lines in the communication I saw was making a difference in the classroom. But tell us a little bit about this Dale Parnell Award.
Well, it's a very humbling award. And the first thing that I have to suggest is I work with so many fine college instructors up at St. Clair County Community College. And when I came into the college as a full-time instructor almost 10 years ago, although I had been teaching as an adjunct, this was a new world for me. And I had to be inspired by those who were there. I had to find how to best do this new job that I was walking into. And I've worked with so many great faculty members up there. And I'm not proud to say this, but I've taken a little piece of everything that I've seen from just about everybody up there. And with that, I have a great enthusiasm for those who are going into a criminal justice profession. Obviously, I've spent a great deal of my life in this profession, and I'm excited to see students who are excited about doing a profession that I've certainly put so much time into. I try to encourage students. I try to find them the excitement that one would need to find that career path that they're looking for. And I hope that I have served the college well in that capacity. And this is an honor that I'm just absolutely flattered and humbled by. And
I think everybody in the Blue Water area is proud for this. And when you get this honor next month, and then you get your name or your plaque on the wall of recognition for the American Association of Community Colleges for making a difference in the classroom. Would you say that if young people out there are interested in a law enforcement career, colleges,
it's essential.
Almost mandatory now, is it not?
Essential, yes.
Whether it's an associate degree or a 4-year degree?
Yes.
Be physically fit, because
it's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, there are probably a number of issues that come up where
you'll find a situation, a call where you'll realize no matter how physically fit you are, it probably would be better to be a little bit more physically fit than you are. Unfortunately, those situations come up periodically. One of the things that we spoke about earlier is training, and police agencies certainly provide an extensive amount of training for police officers. Certainly going through the academy, there are scenarios now that students have to go through, or cadets have to go through as they're going through an academy, that put those in training into real life scenarios. One of the things that happens with a lot of agencies that we didn't do when I started in the job is going through scenarios of ground fighting, where you're going to find yourself on the ground being tackled, someone going for your weapon. Officers are put through those scenarios pretty routinely on departments now for self-defense training, and you quickly realize just how much stamina you have in those types of situations.
Or how much you don't have.
Or how much you don't have very quickly, yes.
Well, and for our audience at home, as we're talking about careers in law enforcement, if you have someone in your family or someone you know that is currently in the military and are going to be done with that commitment in the near future, that with these many openings in law enforcement, I would think you would look favorably on people that have had some of the military background.
Absolutely. And in saying that, some of our best students have come from the military. We get a number of veterans who have done their service and are looking for that new career out there. We find them to be great students, but we also recognize the potential that they bring to the job, the situations that they've been in. The training that the military provides is outstanding, and the maturity that many of those who've been in the military bring back with them when they're looking to go in this profession. Those who are in the military are certainly looked at in a very, very high place when it comes to looking for potential employers or employees in the criminal justice field.
Who's been influential to Jim Jones in his life?
Oh my goodness. You know, I have to start with my family. Early on, obviously, I mentioned my parents, wonderful parents, and my wife and I speak of how impacting watching them as they have gone through their life and been so loyal and loving to each other, how much that has influenced us in our lives. My wife, my goodness, she's been with me 40 years. I had a tremendous crush on her when I was in high school, and we both still have that same crush, I think, on each other today.
Great.
She's been wonderful, putting up with me doing career work that many wives never have to go through, and I'll be grateful for her for that.
And raising 4 kids who
4 kids. Those
great.
All 4 of those kids have inspired me too through the years. They've done wonderfully. Some have gone into education. One has gone into ministry. One is a paralegal. But they're good family folks. They've got kids, and they're wonderful parents. And that's wonderful. I've got 9 grandkids. My grandkids inspire me. It's not easy being a child or a kid or a teenager in today's world, and watching what they do and how they go about it. It's a great inspiration for me when I go to work and realize the challenges that they face. I'm on the tail end of my career. They're just starting there. They've got so many things that they're going to face in life, and I'm confident that they're going to do it well as they go through life.
And while we're doing a little bit of bragging, it's for our audience at home, Mrs. Jones, Renee, was a member of the Mariner State champion basketball team back in the late 70s, and your daughter, wasn't she an All-American pole vaulter?
She was, Division II, went to Grand Valley. She competed at St. Clair High School for many years, and she did quite well when she went off to college. She competed nationally and became an All-American, 3-time All-American, and All-Academic, All-American, and she was
great.
She did very well. We're very proud of her accomplishments, and did well academically also. You know, as I mentioned. So that's wonderful, and probably. In regard to that, she's a wonderful mother, and we're very proud of her, as we are of all of our kids who have all done so well. And
now, what I'd like you to do is about a 20-second commercial for why young people that are kind of wondering what they should be doing next, why they should consider the law enforcement program at SC4. Give me a little commercial.
Well, it's a very strong program, and it's a program that one would find employment in if one were to successfully complete the program and certainly have the interest and the passion to go into the many different fields that one would find themselves eligible to go into with a degree in criminal justice. The criminal justice field is wide open, and when we start talking about federal law enforcement, when we talk about work in the courts, when we talk about work in corrections and working in prisons and potential to go on probation and parole, and certainly becoming a police officer, a trooper, a deputy, all of those professions are proud professions. And one, in my line of work that I chose, I enjoyed going to work every day. And I think of the career that I had in Port Huron. I think of being a police officer in Marine City. I think about teaching about criminal justice at the college. I haven't had a bad day in my professional careers, in my professional life. It's been a great road, and I think one who would find themselves going into any of the criminal justice professions would find the same to be the case.
Great, and for our listening audience, you can see now why Jim Jones may have received that national honor for making a difference in a classroom. You can see that with his his background and his work with the Port Huron Police Department, SC4, working a little part-time in Marine City, that law enforcement really in our area, in this Blue Water area, is better because of the efforts of people like Jim Jones. On behalf of Cable Channel 6, Paul Dingeman, The Conversation Show, if you get the opportunity to see this in your living room, or go to our website, which is watchctv.org, and you can pick up any of these conversations that we've had with a number of people, and certainly take the time to view the entire Jim Jones interview. It was excellent. Thanks for coming in, Jim.
Thank you, Tom. It's so good to see you.
Good to see you.
You've been watching Conversations with Tom Shorkey. Conversations explores the past, the present, and the future of the communities in which we live through the eyes of interesting individuals. If you have an idea for a future conversation, please contact us at www.watchctv.org. Thanks for watching Conversations with Tom Shorkey.